I never expected to find love in the shower. Until a serendipitous mistake changed everything. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It started as a typical morning. The sun barely peeked through the blinds. I felt lost. In a haze. My heart ached. But that day, something shifted. I stepped into the shower, steam enveloping me like a warm hug, swirls of mist dancing around the bathroom. I let the water cascade over me, the droplets like tiny jewels gliding over my skin. But then the door creaked open. A gust of cold air snuck in, and I froze. My heart thundered, wild against my ribcage. My mind spun. Who was there? The silhouette moved closer, shadows flickering against the tiles. I squinted through the fog. A stranger? Or perhaps a ghost from another life? The figures were always drawn to me, even in dreams, they masqueraded in the corners of my mind. But this was no dream. The eyes that stared at me were piercing, electric, full of unspoken stories. I held my breath, feeling the heat of the water blend with the chill of fear. My hands trembled, gripping the showerhead as if it could shield me. What was happening? I was naked, exposed, vulnerable. Sorry. The voice rang out, smooth yet frantic. I thought, never mind. Panic glazed over my vision as the door slammed shut. Silence seeped back into the air. My heart rate slowly settled, yet confusion twisted my insides. Who had that been? I was sure I lived alone. The ache of my loneliness mixed with a strange pang of longing. It felt like a warped game of chance. I couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, fate had stepped into the bathroom. I wrapped a towel around myself, still shivering. The world outside had plunged into chaos, but in that moment, my heart held on to a shard of hope. Was it truly possible to find someone in such a bizarre, unexpected way? I stared at the showerhead, feeling the weight of uncertainty swirl around me. I wanted to find that person again. I needed to know who had looked at me with such intensity. But then, as if to mock me, there was a sudden pounding at the door. My breath caught in my throat. My pulse raced. Are you okay? The voice called again. I recognized it now. The stranger. I'm fine. I stammered, my words shaky, as if I could hide my flustering heart. Listen, I'm really sorry about barging in. Can we talk? There was a softness to the voice that made my heart flutter, a spark that ignited something deep within me. Should I open the door? Should I take a leap? Or was I tempting fate again? My hands hung nervously at my sides. The questions bubbled up. Who was he really? What did he want? I swallowed hard, the lump in my throat growing bigger. I stood there, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down, heart racing. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I hesitated, caught in a whirlwind of emotions. The pounding on the door echoed in my head, pounding relentlessly like a drum calling me to action. What if he was dangerous? What if this was all a mistake? Yet, the memory of his eyes, their intensity, warmth invoked a surge of courage I didn't know I had. Carefully, I opened the door just a crack, enough to glimpse the figure standing on the other side, now cloaked in a muted light that filtered through the frosted glass. I saw him there, his messy hair damp from a shower, a hesitant smile warming his face. "Hi," he said, the softness in his voice disarming. "I'm Jake." I stammered, but words refused to come as I stood clad in nothing but a towel, feeling incredibly exposed. Still, there was a flicker of recognition in his eyes that invited me to let my guard down. "I really didn't mean to burst in on you like that," he continued, his cheeks flushing a deep red. "This is so embarrassing. I'm the new tenant in apartment 3B, and I must be gotten confused. I thought the door was already open." The confession struck a chord in me. I understood confusion all too well. "No worries, it's just not every day you have a stranger walk in on you." I managed a nervous laugh, trying to ease the tension. His laughter joined mine, and for a moment, it felt like an unspoken agreement was forged, a natural connection forming amidst the bizarre circumstances. "Do you want to talk?" he asked, searching my eyes for an answer. "What do you want to talk about?" My heart fluttered as I realized I was on the edge of something unpredictable, yet so achingly familiar, the prospect of sharing my life with another, of unveiling the depths of my soul. "I don't know yet," he admitted, sheepishly raking his fingers through his hair. "Something about this moment feels significant. Like everything else just fell away." I nodded, surprised that he sensed the same thing. Then something shifted within me. I had spent so long hiding, nursing my wounds alone in silence. The idea of letting someone in both exhilarated and terrified me. Could this be a chance to heal, to forge a new connection where loneliness had painted my life in grays? I hesitated again. "I'm dealing with a lot right now." The confession formed a soft whisper that hung in the air. I thought I was alone in this. The vulnerability in my voice surprised him, and he took a step closer, the friendly facade melting away, revealing something deeper beneath. "You're not alone," he said, and I could see the sincerity in his gaze. "I promise." Our eyes locked, and I felt something profound shift in that space. It felt electric, weaving hope into the fabric of my lingering despair. Just as my heart began to thaw, the moment shattered. My phone buzzed violently on the sink, interrupting the delicate bubble we had created. Gasping, I almost forgot my towel, rushing to answer. The screen glowed with a name that sent a jolt through my body: Alex. My heart dropped. A flood of memories and emotions surged back, painful past echoes in sharp contrast to the present warmth I craved. Jake noticed. "Is everything okay?" he asked. The concern etched on his features made me feel more vulnerable than ever. I swallowed hard, torn between the past and this unexpected presence of new possibility. I need to take this," I whispered, unable to meet his gaze. "Sure," he replied softly, stepping back a bit, but I could feel that the distance between us had widened. The cloak of connection we had created was already beginning to unravel even before it had truly begun. I took a deep breath and picked up. "Alex," I said, my voice cracking slightly. "Hey, I'm in town and I need to see you. It's important." His voice was demanding, a reminder of my past life and the toxic chains I had tried so hard to break. "I'm busy right now," I replied, unable to suppress the tremble in my voice. I felt Jake standing there, a silent witness to my struggle between this ghost of my past and the warmth of a potential future. "Don't ignore me. We can't just pretend this isn't happening," he pressed. Suddenly, the warmth of the moment with Jake felt like it was slipping away. "I need to think," I said, the weight of my words heavy as they hung in the air. I hung up, breathless, but the tension hadn't loosened its grip on my chest. Jake stood there, the emotions swirling on his face, now a mix of confusion and concern. "Is everything really okay?" It was a loaded question. I couldn't bear to say what was truly happening. I need to sort things out." He stepped forward, his voice lowering, almost a whisper. "You know, I get it. Life can be messy. And it's scary to let someone new in." I took a shaky breath, feeling the warmth of his presence yet knowing it was at risk of being extinguished by the turmoil of my past. "Thank you." But as I met his gaze, I saw something shift: an understanding, and an undecided curiosity. What if the unexpected twist I had found that day was about to transform everything? Would I even let it? As I felt the weight of Jake's presence wane, uncertainty settled in, leaving me with the aching question of whether I could tear down the walls I built around my heart. Before I could respond, a loud crash sounded from the hallway, followed by frantic voices. My stomach twisted. Whatever wall I had fought to build was at risk of crumbling before it even started to grow. "Stay here," I whispered to Jake, my instincts urging me toward the chaos just beyond the door. But as I turned to follow the noise, I caught a glimpse of his eyes, alive with concern and something else, an unspoken promise that this wasn't over yet. But as I stepped into the dark unknown, ready to face what awaited me, I couldn't shake the feeling that my decisions would soon lead to everything unraveling in a way I could never have predicted. As I stepped into the hallway, my heart raced with a mix of fear and apprehension. The sounds of commotion surrounded me like a whirlwind, drowning out my thoughts. Fragments of conversations collided, and my mind struggled to process the urgency of the situation. Had something happened to one of the other tenants? I moved cautiously toward the source of the noise, my pulse quickening. I reached the corner, just in time to see a group of neighbors gathered, their faces etched with concern and confusion. A small crowd had formed around a young woman kneeling on the ground, cradling a toddler who was sobbing uncontrollably. "Someone call an ambulance!" a man shouted, shaking his head in disbelief. "Why did she leave the door open?" I felt a knot tighten in my stomach. It was a harsh reminder of how quickly life could shift, leaving devastation in its wake. As I pushed through the crowd, I caught sight of the woman. The panic in her eyes echoed the emotions I had kept trapped within myself for so long. "Please, what happened?" I asked, kneeling beside her. She looked up at me, desperation coursing through her voice. "He fell." I turned around for a second, and he just slipped right out. The little boy's cries were sharp and penetrating, cutting through the air with a rawness that tugged at my heartstrings. I instinctively reached out to comfort him, brushing my fingers gently over his back. "Hey there, buddy, you're going to be okay," I whispered, crafting soft words in hopes of soothing his terror. Beneath my fingers, his sobs gradually subsided, but I could still see the fear in his wide eyes. I glanced up at the woman, and for a moment, we locked eyes. In her gaze, I saw a reflection of my own fears, how vulnerable we could be, how fragile our lives were. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned to find Jake at my side, his brow furrowed in concern. "I was worried about you," he murmured, scanning the scene around us. His presence was a balm amid the chaos, grounding me like an anchor amid a storm. "Is the little guy hurt?" he asked, kneeling next to me. I could see how intensely he felt for the child, a silent witness to the heartbreaking reality unfolding before us. The ambulance sirens echoed in the distance, and with them came a flicker of hope. The woman spoke frantically, "They're coming. They're coming." Just then, the boy's sobs faded into small whimpers, his tiny hand clutching my shirt as if I were his lifeline. In that moment, I felt a rush of warmth and strength, as if the connection I had forged moments ago with Jake was spiraling into something more expansive, something bigger than either of us. I glanced at him, and he met my gaze, an understanding passing between us. This was not just a moment of vulnerability but of healing, an arching bridge spanning the busy chaos and the quieter depths of our emotions. I could tell he sensed it too, his hopeful smile in the midst of fear felt like a lifeline. As we held vigil together beside the frantic mother and her child, the weight of my tumultuous past eased just a fraction. In those moments, I found a whisper of resilience that urged me to keep my heart open, to allow this stranger to become a part of my world, a world I had locked out for so long. But the moment was fleeting. As the ambulance arrived and the rushed voices filled the air, my phone buzzed again, this time vibrating violently against my thigh, stealing my attention once more. My heart sank when I saw who it was, Alex. The look on Jake's face darkened as he watched me answer, his hopeful aura clouded by uncertainty. "Are you seriously ignoring me?" Alex's voice was sharp, cutting through my temporary respite like a knife. "You think you can just forget everything? We need to talk." I could feel Jake's presence slip slightly, the connection we had been building momentarily tarnished by the reminder of my chaotic past. "I am busy right now," I managed to say, my voice trembling. "Busy doing what?" The tone in his voice shifted, suddenly accusing, relentless. Living life without me? You think you can just walk away? Just stop. I inadvertently blurted out, surprising myself as the frustration bubbled to the surface. I snuck a glance at Jake, who was watching me closely, a mixture of concern and confusion emblazoned across his features. The ambient noise around us faded, and all that remained was the weight of my tangled emotions driving me to a precipice. The past and the present collided fiercely, and for a moment, I didn't know which way to turn. That I hung up abruptly, the uncertainty lingering in the air. Staring at Jake, I saw a flicker of sadness but also the dawning realization that perhaps he had been thrust into a turmoil far beyond his understanding. Are you okay? He asked quietly, and I knew he meant more than just the chaos we had witnessed. I took a breath, feeling the sharpness of everything I had just experienced. No, I admitted, feeling raw and exposed. I thought I could handle it. But it's too much. Before he could respond, the hallway filled with the piercing sirens of the ambulance, echoing like a shattering glass. Voices erupted, and the world surged back into chaos, painfully reminding me that I wasn't in control. With the crush of uncertainty and heartbreak threatening to swallow me whole, I realized I had a choice: surrender to the past that continuously haunted me or take a decisive step towards something that felt undeniably alive. As Jake's gaze held my own, a new realization dawned within me. For the first time, I could feel the weight of my decision encroaching. I was teetering on the brink of something unimaginable. Not everything was clear, but I understood that in the battles of the heart, the lines may blur, revealing untapped reservoirs of strength or a descent into chaos. But one thing was certain: the journey had only just begun. As the paramedics emerged, and reality jostled for attention, I knew the imminent choice loomed, one powered by the desire for love or shackled to the chains of my past. As the ambulance doors swung open, a flurry of paramedics surged forward, their professional demeanor an unsettling reminder of just how serious the situation was. The once tender atmosphere morphed into an arena of urgency, and I felt a shiver of fear ripple through me. Though I still knelt by the child, my heart was divided. Half of me was consumed by the panic of the moment, while the other half grappled with the realization that my own life was spiraling into a wild unrest. Jake stayed beside me, his presence steadying in its normalcy as he reached out to the little boy, whispering comfort and encouragement. But I could feel the weight of my connection with him shift, like a rubber band pulled too tightly, threatening to snap. It was as if we had been bonded through the chaos of the moment, and yet here it dangles precariously in the face of my unresolved past. As the paramedics assessed the child's condition, checking for any visible injuries, I stole glances at Jake's face. His brow was furrowed with concern, yet there was something else, an understanding that I felt as I shifted back to my own turmoil, the uncertainty of who I was and who I wanted to be. Hey, he's going to be fine, Jake reassured the mother gently. They're experts. They're going to take good care of him. I watched as a sense of calm washed over her, gratitude mingled with relief in her gaze. It was a momentary dance of emotional support that seemed to unravel the chaos, if only for a heartbeat. But as the paramedics managed the little boy, my phone buzzed again, more insistent this time. I hesitated, caught in a web spun of despair and disorientation. What did Alex want now? The relentless pull of my past hung heavy in the air, tugging at the fragile thread of hope Jake and I had woven between us. Are you sure you're all right? Jake's voice broke through my fog, grounding me again. His earnestness urged me to embrace the present, to let the past remain a fading shadow. Yet, the familiarity of my history clawed at my heart, taunting me with whispers of regret. I need to deal with this, I murmured, wincing as I stared at the phone screen. I didn't want to answer him. I didn't want to engage. Yet, the fear of reprisal pulled me like a puppet on strings. Take your time, Jake's voice softened. The understanding in his eyes made something in me cry out for him to hold me, to shield me from the dark facts of my life. But I couldn't project my tempest onto him, not while he was trying to remain resolute for the boy and his mother. Resigned, I swiped to answer. Alex's voice surged through the speaker as if carried on waves of hostility. You need to understand what you're walking into. and if you think you can just turn your back on everything, his words became a relentless barrage. Stop! I interrupted, shaking with frustration as guilt crawled up my spine. The little boy was now being loaded into the ambulance, his sobs quieting under the paramedic's care. I focused on the crumbling edges of my world instead of listening to the barbs that spit from Alex's mouth. I can't keep doing this. I don't want any more conflict. Then what do you want? He spat back, and for a moment, I was suspended in the air between my past and what could possibly be. Do you want him? Because no one just walks away from everything they once had. The pulsating noise of the sirens dulled around me, and I could feel Jake's eyes on me, full of worry and curiosity. It was unsettling. I wanted to scream and cry all at once, but as I glanced at Jake, I saw something shimmering in his gaze, a deep well of hope. Maybe it wasn't he just the child we were holding our breath for, perhaps it extended to the two of us. I want to find a way to be free, I whispered through gritted teeth, my words barely articulating the tempest inside. And I want to not be afraid anymore. Then it's time you face the truth, Alex replied coolly, as if trying to play some mind game with me. Running 1T save you. You know that. With an incoming wave of resolve, I moved to hang up the call when suddenly, Jake stepped closer. You don't have to do this alone, he said, just above a whisper. Whatever it is, I'm here. The warmth in his voice softened the edges of my mounting anxiety. It was an unexpected kindness amid the turmoil, a fleeting moment of sanctuary amidst an unforgiving storm. But the moment of hope was short-lived, the words echoed in my heart, yet I hesitated to let them absorb fully, fearing the weight they carried. Just trust, Jake encouraged gently, reaching out, his hand resting on my shoulder. It grounded me in a way I didn't fully comprehend but longed for. I can't, I breathed, the vehemence of my rejection laced with vulnerability. In that moment, I felt the pull of fate, the universe was wrestling with fate, exerting its pressure to push me toward a decision I was not ready to embrace, but with a loud bang, the ambulance doors closed in front of us, the vehicle roaring back to life. The boy's cries had finally ceased. As Jake stood beside me, his eyes held an unwavering spark of hope that mingled with uncertainty. What if we could find a way from this together? He suggested softly, a tentative proposal hanging between us. The world around us had transformed, it felt like a page turning in a book neither of us knew we were both starring in. As I considered his offer, dread seeped back into my bones, and reality twisted yet again. But just as I was about to voice my lingering fear, the ground beneath us tremored, a shuddering crash echoed through the hallway, reverberating through our souls just as deeply. The abrupt sound shattered my thoughts and pulled my attention away from Jake, the boy, the past, and the unfolding of everything. In an instant, I turned and saw a boy about the same age as the child, standing at the other end of the corridor with wide, fearful eyes. He was staring not at the ambulance but at the door to one of the apartments beside us, where the faint sound of struggling mixed with muffled voices rang clear, dreadful and haunting. The world around me blurred, emotions collided, and everything I thought I understood shifted into doubt. The boy's terrified expression mirrored my own fear as realization dawned. The fight was far from over. In my gut, I felt the connection to Alex again, a dark thread tethering me back to the unraveling chaos. I glanced at Jake, whose expression morphed from concern to a flicker of dawning recognition, sending shivers racing down my spine. "Who's in there?" Jake asked cautiously, but I could see the tension rise. Surrounded by confusion, I struggled to catch my breath. The tide had turned, and the dam was about to break. We had stumbled upon a new layer of chaos, one that threatened to swallow everything whole. "What do we do?" I gasped, dread pooling in my chest. Before Jake could respond, a voice called out from the darkness, drowning us in a tide of uncertainty that twisted and tore at the very fabric of all I thought I could protect in this chaotic life. My past had not yet written its last chapter, and I couldn't ignore the haunting dread it delivered, like a ghost returning to claim its due. The eerie tension in the hallway thickened, wrapping around me like a vice. Every instinct screamed at me to flee, yet an invisible thread drew me closer to the shadows that slipped from the apartment door, too quiet against the chaos that surrounded us. I could see the boy now, his face a mask of horror, and I recognized the helplessness reflected in his eyes, a mirror to my own turbulent heart. Jake moved forward, instinctively protective, and I stumbled to keep pace, desperate not to lose him to the darkness that seemed to seep from that door. The air vibrated with unspoken energy, ominous like the quiet before a storm. I could hardly breathe, lightheaded as the pieces of my life crashed together in a whirlpool of anxiety. "Jake, wait!" I gasped, clutching his arm. The warmth of his skin felt like a lifeline, tethering me to reality in an increasingly surreal situation. But even then, a whisper of doubt snaked through me. What if I was wrong? What if stepping into this abyss would cost both of us everything? He turned to me, brow furrowed with concern. "You heard that too, right?" he whispered, his voice tight. "We can't just walk away." My thoughts faltered, consumed by the urgency in his eyes. He was right, the muffled sounds from inside were becoming louder, more frenzied. I had spent so long running away, but perhaps maybe this was the time to confront the shadows, not escape them. "Yeah," I replied, forcing the words past the rising tide in my chest. "We can't." With a nod, Jake edged closer, pushing the door open with caution. It creaked ominously, revealing an apartment that smelled of stale air and something acrid and burnt that scraped against my nostrils. Somewhere within those walls lay pain and fear, and I could feel the echo of memories, the very essence of everything I had been grappling with inside of me. "What is happening in here?" Jake called, stepping over the threshold, his bravery igniting a fire in my soul. I wanted to scream for him to stop, to turn back. But my feet felt cemented as understanding coursed through me. This was a moment of reckoning, my own shadow clad in the guise of resolution. Suddenly, the shouts escalated, a guttural sound I never wished to hear slicing through the air, and I flinched. But before I could allow fear to suffocate me, a small figure dashed past us, raising their tiny hands as if to shield themselves from an unseen menace. The boy, the one I'd first noticed at the end of the hall, was suddenly faced with a hard revelation, identical to the one I'd borne for far too long. "Help! Please!" he cried, his voice trembling. There was a wildness in his eyes that cut deeper than any words could. "Stay back!" Another voice growled from within the apartment, thick with anger and despair, and a flurry of footsteps rushed towards us, accompanied by a loud crash. My heart felt like it was pounding in my throat, each beat laced with a familiar terror that I thought I had left behind. "Get the boy! Get him out of here!" A woman's voice screamed, full of desperation. Against the edge of instinct and fear, I pushed forward, the instincts of a protector unfurling within me. "We will help you," I shouted, not yet comprehending how truly brave those words felt. They filtered through the air, wrapping around the children with a sense of safety that felt fleeting yet profound. As we stepped further into the chaos, the room became more defined, revealing its stark reality. Through a crack in the window, the fading light filtered, illuminating the shadowy figures engaged in a desperate struggle, a reflection of a fight I hardly knew how to navigate. Adrenaline surged with every breath, igniting my senses as I grasped Jake's hand tightly, as if he could anchor me amidst the storm. But just as I finally decided to help, my phone buzzed again, the harsh sound ripping me from the moment. With a shock, I tore my gaze from the chaos unfolding in front of me, my heart sinking further into the pit of uncertainty. I glanced down at my screen, a name flashing back at me like a neon sign: Alex. A chill gripped my spine. He had known I was vulnerable, and now he was using this moment against me. Memories threatened to drag me back under, but as I heard another cry echo in the room, something inside me hardened. I wouldn't let my past dictate my present anymore. "Do you want me to get the police?" Jake whispered, his face taut with urgency. But I shook my head. The weight of my choices loomed over us, full of risk. "No," I replied, my voice shaky but resilient. "We need to help them first." With that decision made, I took the first steps into the fray, my heart pounding like a drum in my ears. As Jake followed closely behind, a flicker of resolve ignited between us, our lives intertwined in a way I had never anticipated. But even as I wrestled with the chaos inside, I heard another crash all-consuming, reverberating through the apartment, shaking the very foundation of my resolve. As Jake and I crept closer, I felt the air shift, charged with a tension that buzzed like electricity. In the midst of the chaos, a realization hit me: the boy, the woman's cries. This was about more than just the present. It was a vivid reminder of everything I had tried to escape. Someone's hurt. Jake hissed, his urgency pulling me back to the moment. But then, just as we began to step into the whirlwind of emotion and sound, another crash rang out, and a figure emerged from the shadows, a face I had all too recently buried in my memories. My heart stopped, caught mid-thought, a tremor of disbelief pulsing through me as I faced the unexpected. The vortex of confusion and dread mixed into a heady concoction of emotions as I stared into the eyes of someone I had long thought gone from my life, the reaper of my past returning precisely when I felt ready to confront my choices. "Hello again," he said with a smirk that twisted the knife deeper into my resolve. My world spun, caught between light and dark, my chance for freedom now veering off the course into nascent chaos. As the breath caught in my throat, I stood frozen, unable to comprehend how this could be happening. The shadows of my past had found a way back into my present, standing before me with an arrogant confidence that sickened me. I could feel Jake beside me, his body tense, ready to confront whatever threat lingered in the room. "Stop. You need to back away from them." I managed to choke out, my voice wavering but resolute. "Why, Emma?" The smirk on his face grew wider, and each syllable felt like shards of glass, digging into the raw wounds of my heart. "You think you're a hero now? Like saving them changes anything?" The boy beside me whimpered, burying his face in my leg, and instinctively I reached down, placing my hand on his head, grounding him. Despite my turmoil, my desire to protect these children surged forth, stronger than the fear paralyzing me. "Get out of here!" I shouted, urging them back with a wave of my hand. "Now! This isn't safe." As Jake moved to shield the two of us, the figure laughed, a sound that dripped with menace, causing the walls of the apartment to shudder. "You've always been weak, Emma. Running from everything but never truly escaping. What makes you think you're different now?" With every taunt, each word lit a fire in my chest. Memories flooded my mind, moments of pain, regret, and the decisions that had led me here. Yet, in the midst of that conflagration, something else flickered, a defiance, a longing for autonomy. "You don't know what I'm capable of anymore," I replied, my voice growing firmer as I met his gaze, determined not to budge under his malevolent stare. I felt Jake South's presence close behind me, a reminder that I was not facing this alone. That flicker of hope anchored me, urging me to believe in my strength. "Cliché, isn't it?" He sneered, stepping forward, mirroring my challenge. "You need help or you're just as lost as you ever were." "Enough!" Jake burst out, surprising me. He stepped between me and my past, his hands raised as if to bar further confrontation. "We're getting the kids out of here, and you can't stop us." The figure in front of us paused, momentarily caught off guard. It was evident Jake's resolve surprised him. But the break in tension was short-lived, a frown etched into his features as he quickly regained his composure. That I felt the fleeting moment of hope that Jake brought surge through me, and I took a step forward, using it to my advantage. "There's nothing left for you here. You can't control me anymore." My voice rang louder, clearer, fuller. "Foolish girl," he spat, and with the flick of a wrist, he summoned a palpable wave of darkness that rippled through the room, a chilling reminder of the power he once held over me. I swallowed hard, my heart racing. The boy clutched me tighter, his fear spilling over into mine. And for a heartbeat, I felt the walls around us close in, echoing with the fear we all shared. Then, in a moment of clarity, I turned to the child and whispered, "You have to be brave just a little longer. We're going to get out of here, I promise." Jake nodded, his eyes unwavering, locked on our opponent. The fire inside me swelled, igniting a beacon of fierce determination. This was no longer just about confronting my past, this was about protecting my future, and the future of the frightened souls behind me. But without warning, the figure lunged, a manifestation of the chaos that had characterized my life for so long. A desperate energy surged within me, and I felt my instincts kick in, honed from years of running. "Now!" Jake shouted, and before I could react, we were in motion rushing for the door with the kids in tow, adrenaline pushing us forward. Just as we collided with Hope, a hand shot out from behind, gripping Jake's arm and pulling him back. "Not so fast." The voice sliced through the air, a dark crescendo of violence in that split second. I turned, the world slowing to an agonizing crawl. I could see Jake's struggle as horrified realization flickered across his face. This was a battle far greater than any we had faced before. "Get them out!" he yelled, and desperation colored every word, but I couldn't leave him behind. Fear gripped my heart as I felt the distance between us stretch. "Jake!" I screamed, the agony spilling from my lips as I fought against the helplessness clawing at my insides. "Go!" he urged again, eyes fierce. It was the moment when sacrifice and bravery collided. And just as I took a step forward to save him, a dark shape fell, an unseen force separating us. "You can't save him, Emma. You need to choose," he hissed, the shadows coiling tighter. My heart raced, torn between the urgency of escape and the instinct to protect. My hand reached toward Jake as if I could bridge that chasm, my voice raw from the emotion surging through me. "No. I won't leave you." Then, in a shocking turn of fate, the world erupted into chaos once more, with sounds of shattering glass and frantic sobs echoing through the apartment. With a swift movement, another figure emerged, someone I had never expected, a trusted ally, an embodiment of hope. "Get back!" she shouted, and I felt hope claw its way back into my heart as tendrils of darkness began peeling away, and just before she could reach us, before we could escape this nightmare, chaos erupted with a final harsh breath, and the truth I had buried came crashing down. Jake's eyes locked onto mine, heavy with the weight of unspoken fears. But amidst that weight, a flicker of light shone, an unbreakable bond forged in turmoil and resilience. "Emma!" His voice pierced through the cacophony, laced with a raw urgency that sent a jolt through me. But one devastating revelation shattered our fragile ground. I had chosen this moment to confront my past, to embrace my truth, but in that very moment I realized that the fight was far from over. The shadows had not just come for me, they had come for Jake too. And as the darkness closed in around us, I understood, I needed to become the protector I had always wished for, or risk losing everything I loved again. The air crackled around us, thick with a tension that felt suffocating in its intensity. I was caught in a nightmare from which I couldn't wake, every instinct screaming at me to fight, to rescue Jake from the grasp of shadows creeping closer. The weight of my choices pressed down on me, a relentless reminder of all I had failed to protect. "Emma!" Jake's voice was stronger now, fighting against the chaos that swirled between us. "You need to leave. You'll never win this fight unless you save yourself first." "No!" I exclaimed, desperation igniting every word. "I won't abandon you." My hands trembled as I reached toward him, the distance between us an unbearable chasm filled with both fear and determination. The figure that had once held such dominion over my life loomed larger, a harbinger of despair clad in shadows. It readied itself to strike, its laughter a chilling specter mocking my resolve. Just as I feared all hope would slip away, the trusted ally, the one I had never expected to see, charged toward us with an air of defiance that flicked the light of courage back on in my heart. "Maya!" I gasped, relief flooding me momentarily, but overshadowed by the urgency of our situation. "Help him. I know what I'm doing, Emma," she shouted, the determination in her voice bending back the shadows that threatened to engulf us. With a flick of her wrist, a shimmering barrier defined a perimeter around us, holding at bay the darkness that sought to consume everything. I can't leave him," I whispered, tears welling in my eyes as I took a hesitant step back toward Jake, forced to defend against the pull of my now tightening choices, but Maya's fierce resolve burned brighter, and for a moment, the shadows hesitated, sensing a shift in the power dynamics that had dictated our lives for too long. "You can do this. You need to trust yourself, trust me. I've seen you fight, and you have to believe you can fight for him too. In that fleeting moment, a surge of wind swept through the room, a gust of raw strength that coursed through my veins, pushing past the fear. I felt a bond connecting me to both Maya and Jake, a fortifying web of love and loyalty that transcended the darkness threatening to snuff out our flames. The choice, I realized, was not between them. It was the power of love encapsulated in our shared struggle. Help me, Emma. Jake's voice was imbued with urgency, a plea that cut through the fear that clung to me like a cold fog. Remember what we talked about together, we can break free. I nodded, focusing on the connection buzzing through my heart. In that moment, I drew a deep, steadying breath, turning my gaze from the shadows, away from the figure that had once controlled my destiny. Together, I whispered to Maya, finding solace in the truth of our bond. I held her gaze, and together we summoned every ounce of strength, the very essence of our friendship surging into a defiant cry against the darkness. Together. Maya shouted, as shadows began retreating, trembling in the wake of our combined defiance. But just as the grip of despair loosened, the figure's laughter echoed louder, smothering, mocking, and all too familiar. You think you've won? You're nothing but children playing at heroism. It lunged toward us, a wave of darkness spiraling in its wake, and I felt the breath leave my lungs as I braced myself against the oncoming force. The moment froze, suspended between hope and despair. Yet within that stillness, my heart surged with a truth as powerful as the shadows trying to claim us. I won't let you take him. I screamed, feeling the weight of every wound that had shaped me. You no longer hold power over us. Jake's eyes locked onto mine, an understanding sparking between us, a promise born from every hardship we endured together. Fight, Emma. You have to believe. He urged, his words echoed through me, igniting an untamed fire deep within. I turned my focus back to the storm of darkness before us, a wave of renewed resolve crashing over me as I refused to back down. Maya, standing firm beside me, emitted a light that bathed the room, illuminating every shadow, reaching for Jake as he desperately fought against the grip that bound him. Together, we could carve a path through the darkness bound to ensnare us. Now! We shouted in unison, and my heart raced as the air around us pulsed with energy. We surged forward, our united front challenging the shadowy figure, who recoiled as if struck, but that flicker of hope was met with a brutal shift, a grisly confrontation of darkness and light, reality unfurling into a chaotic tapestry of emotion. Just as victory seemed attainable, the world warped around us and another jarring revelation struck. The barrier we had erected faltered for just a moment, the shadows finding fresh pathways, seeping back into my mind where memories lay dormant. You haven't learned, Emma, the figure leered, its voice a malevolent whisper. You can never escape who you are. I staggered, that familiar guilt unraveling the very fabric of my resolve as chills chased through me. The shadows were not just surrounding us, they were the echoes of my past, the choices I had made, the turmoil that had driven me. Suddenly, from the corner of my eye, I glimpsed a small figure, the boy I had vowed to protect, frozen in shock and fear. My heart lurched, and for the first time, I understood. Help him! I cried out, the plea tearing from my throat. His innocent gaze anchored me, reminding me of the stakes in this battle. If we don't save him, we'll lose everything. But the shadows twisted, wrapping themselves tighter around Jake, desperation flooding my heart as I felt the world tilt beneath my feet. Maya shouted something incoherent, but in that horrifying moment, I could only focus on the dark thrall wrapping around Jake's form, engulfing him. Emma! He shouted, voice strained, drowning in the turmoil. Terror seized my chest, each beat a testament to the lives hinging on this moment. Just as I lunged forward, a chilling laughter erupted, drowning out everything, reverberating through my very soul. Look at what's become of you. The shadowy figure taunted, locking its hollow gaze onto mine. You can't hold on to light forever. You will fall, and I will be the one to watch you do it. I felt the warmth of hope crack under the weight of despair, grasping at straws to hold on to as Jake's silhouette flickered before fading into the darkness. My heart raced, and with my soul dangling at the precipice of that abyss, a devastating realization gripped me. I might save him, but the cost may be my own light, and as the shadows surged forward, I plunged into the void, the echoes of laughter ringing in my ears, knowing that the real darkness was only beginning to unravel. The chaos of shadows began to settle into a haunting silence, the weight of despair eclipsing everything I thought I knew about hope. I was plummeting, utterly lost in that void created in the wake of despair, where every choice made and every path taken felt like lead weights anchoring me down. Panic swirled around me like a restless tide. How could I possibly face the emptiness that came with losing Jake to the darkness? But then, just as I thought all light had faded, a warmth brushed against my shoulder. Maya's presence anchored me, her determination a beacon against the encroaching shadows. "Emma," she whispered, her voice a fierce thread lacing through the stillness, "you're stronger than the darkness. Remember who you are." I blinked, trying to reconcile her words with the chaos that had overtaken us, shrouding the room in a weighty gloom. They weren't just words, they were a lifeline thrown to me amid the tempest. Could I still cling to the belief that I held power, even as doubts clawed at my mind? "Where is he?" My voice trembled, barely more than a breath, but laced with urgency. Maya's eyes narrowed, scanning the ever-shifting shadows with a fierce glare. "We have to find him. The deeper the darkness consumes him, the harder it will be to pull him back. But we won't let that happen." An urgency surged within my heart. I may have felt lost, but an ember of determination flickered to life, fueled by her unwavering spirit. Together, I echoed once more, stepping closer to her, feeling the warmth of her light wrap around us, providing a shield against the biting cold of despair that sought to claim me. With her hand clasped around mine, we pushed forward into the entangled mass of shadows. It twisted and morphed around us, every flicker a representation of my haunting memories and every corner turned a testament to my deepest fears. "Jake!" I shouted, my voice cutting through the darkness with a certainty I didn't feel. The entity responded with a rumbling laugh, sharp and mocking. "You called for what is lost, but you're just running on empty, Emma. Do you not see the futility in this struggle? You're wrong." I rallied, feeling the fire of our connection burning within me. I could not let despair claim my brother, my best friend, my heart's tether to reality. "We are stronger than you think, and together we can break the bonds you've wrapped around us." Maya squeezed my hand, speaking softly. "We need to focus our light. Close your eyes, breathe, and remember him. Remember every moment you shared, every laugh and every challenge. We're fighting for that. For the love that binds us." I inhaled deeply, forcing my eyes to close, recalling every shared memory, from the unfiltered laughter of my childhood, to every whispered secret on darkening nights. Each moment flickered in my mind like lightning, bathing me in warmth, igniting the fading ember into a conflagration. The shadows around us convulsed in agitation, their whispers trying to invade my thoughts with echoes of self-doubt, but Maya's presence bolstered my resolve. "Stay with me, Emma," she urged gently. "I will," I vowed, pouring every shred of love I had into that singular thought as we moved deeper into the fray. I could feel the tugging of the shadows trying to break my concentration, trying to pull my thoughts into the abyss of fear, but then, there was a flicker, a glimpse of Jake. I could make out his silhouette, struggling against the inky oppression that stifled him. With a powerful surge, I reached for him, and I felt the pulse of our connection reaching across the void. "Jake!" I shouted, my heart breaking at his helplessness. "Emma!" he cried, his voice fighting through the suffocating darkness. "You have to push back. Together, we are stronger than this." Gathering every ounce of courage, I and Maya unleashed a luminous force, a tidal wave of light that surged through the tangled shadows. "You are not alone, Jake. We're here, fighting for you." I felt the warmth of love encircling us, burning brighter with every ounce of belief I harnessed. The shadows recoiled, but the figure laughed again, its voice rich with malice. "You think this trifle of light can withstand eternal darkness? You are simply prolonging the inevitable." Then it struck, a wave of despair washed over me, almost debilitating in its ferocity, plunging me back into memories I wished I could erase. Each painful moment morphed into gasping doubts clawing at my resolve, whispers taunting me with my failures, dredging up every moment of weakness. But just as I felt that despair wishing to consume me, I remembered those words, the ones I whispered to myself when things were their darkest: I am not alone. Fueled by that undeniable truth, I called upon every ounce of love that had shaped our lives, a chorus of whispered moments harmonizing into a single brilliance, illuminating the path with shimmering hope. I will not let you win. I screamed into the darkness, finally finding my voice. As the tide began to shift, I felt Jake's presence drawing closer, a warmth igniting within him, a sign of our bond surging back to life. I reached out for him, desperately pulling him toward me with everything I had. But just as I thought we could break free, the shadows spiraled and twisted violently as the figure's laughter echoed once more, fracturing everything I had come to believe. What is this? You refuse to yield. How precious. In that instant of serene clarity, something unforeseen rolled through the darkness, a glimmering form, fleeting and radiant. A face emerged from the shadows, someone entirely unexpected. Emma. The voice startled me, frail yet determined. It wasn't just any voice, it was the lost sound of another friend, someone I hadn't been able to save before. A sliver of horror sliced through my moment of clarity. No, not you, I whispered, panic flooding over me at the realization of who was now entangled in this battle. Leave now, it's too dangerous. But as I reached out, the figure disappeared back into the depths of the dark, leaving only a ghastly echo of its presence behind. Did you see that? I gasped, grappling with the emotional upheaval washing over me. The shadows twisted in anticipation, sensing my wavering resolve as I confronted the reality of this new pain, the burdens of hope and loss mashed together, each vying for space in my heart, as I fell back into the whirlwind of despair threatening to consume me. The darkness was growing again, and this time I felt its weight pulling me down with a fierceness that racked my body with a terrible chill. Emma. Stay with me. Jake called, his voice slicing through the fog of grief. But as I looked into his eyes, something deep within me had splintered. Would I stand strong against the encroaching shadows for him or succumb to the guilt of unseen loss? My choice loomed ominously before me like a storm cloud ready to burst, promising to rain down a torrent of either profound hope or devastating abandonment. Together, Emma. We can face this. Don't give in. Jake cried out desperately, as the darkness began to swirl around us again, eager to claim its prize. Just then, a realization crashed over me, igniting a maelstrom of confusion mixed with fresh fear, leaving me teetering on the edge. If I let the darkness swallow me, was there anyone left to pull Jake back? Everything hung in perfect yet agonizing imbalance, and I felt the essence of our fight slip between my fingers as shadows coiled all around, whispering promises of an escape that could cost us everything. I was losing touch with the very light I'd fought to maintain, and beneath the weight of that revelation, I sensed despair bubbling around my edges, threatening to draw me back into the void. The world spun in tender shades of confusion, each heartbeat echoing like a distant drum in the storm of my thoughts. Shadows danced around me, their whispers pulling at the frayed threads of my conviction. Just as the fear tightened its grip, I felt Maya's hand, a lifeline tethering me to purpose. Emma, she breathed, her voice unwavering against the wind. You've come too far to give up. Remember who you are fighting for. Remember the joy you once shared. The straightforward simplicity of her encouragement sparked something within me, a glimmer of that unyielding spirit I had buried under layers of fear and trauma. I know, I murmured, my breaths coming in shallow gasps. I could feel Jake's pain radiating in the air between us, palpable and raw. But with that realization came another, a chilling truth that anchored itself into the very fabric of my resolve. What if we fail? I asked, the question slipping out before I could swallow it back. What if I can't save him? Maya's grip tightened around my fingers, an anchor in the swirling sea of doubt. You've already done more than they wanted. You've come back for him, Emma. That means something. Will it mean enough? I whispered brokenly. The shadows around me seemed to press closer, as if sensing my faltering will, eager to plunge me back into despair's cold embrace. I glanced at Jake, visible but still shrouded in wavering darkness. His eyes shone with a desperation that made my heart ache. "Emma!" he shouted, breaking the spell of self-doubt. "Listen to her. I believe in you." A warmth bloomed in the pit of my stomach at his words. I wasn't alone even when I felt surrounded by shadows. I could still fight. Swallowing back the rising tide of fear, I took a step toward Jake even as the shadows twisted obstinately, trying to pull him away. "Remember the promise we made?" he shouted, voice full of emotion. "We've faced worse. You're my light, and I need you." "I won't leave you," I replied, steadying my voice as I approached the coiling mass of darkness threatening to consume us. "Not now, not ever." The words acted as a shield, warding off the bites of doubt that gnawed at my resolve. Together, we focused on our connection, the memories we stitched together across lifetimes, each one glowing with brilliant warmth. "We have to remember," I yelled over the din of the dark entity, sharing the memories that filled the hollow spaces of my heart. The snowball fights, the camping trips, our laughter echoing in the evenings. We are woven together, inextricably. The shadows recoiled at the surge of light that blossomed in response, recoiling as if hurt by our unwavering bond. But then, as if fortified by desperation, the entity roared with malicious intensity. "You believe your feeble memories can save you? They're nothing but smoke. Weakness." "No." Maya countered, erupting into the forefront once more. "They are the very essence of our strength. Together, we are light. Together, we are hope." Suddenly, I was overtaken by the realization that this fight was not just for Jake, but for all of us trapped in the shadows of anguish. I wouldn't let my own fears dictate who I could be. The waves of light swelled between us, creating a shield forged in the relentless love we had for each other, rising until it swirled like an unquenchable flame. The shadows dilated, shrieking as they faltered, with our collective light bursting forth and illuminating the battlefield. Yet just as victory felt near, a strange presence clawed at the corners of my perception. I could sense another someone on the fringe of this world, lost yet searching. A wave of terror washed over me as I recognized the weighted energy. The entity was shifting, swirling, gathering force to unleash an offensive blow. Then, an unearthly voice rang through the chaos, twisted and haunting. "You think your light can save you? You're too late. One more cruel sacrifice is yet to be made." "Sacrifice?" I repeated, dread pooling in my gut. But how could I possibly know the depths of what the shadows had planned? The warmth and love I felt from Jake and Maya could hardly compete against the eerie certainty that gripped me. "What do you mean?" I cried, desperate for answers. As the silence enveloped everything, a surge of distorted laughter echoed, and the shadows began to respond ominously. Their swirling forms solidified into a horrific shape, revealing something sinister, a mirror image of my deepest regret, a specter, carrying a piece of my past I had desperately tried to bury. No. My heart raced with the dawning terror, an image from a day etched in my mind like a scar, the day I lost everything. I saw the pale face of another friend who had also been engulfed in despair, a friend whose fate haunted me, the last person I couldn't save. A wave of guilt wrapped around me, its chilling embrace threatening to drag me under. "You will never escape the truth of your choices, Emma," the shadow taunted, drawing closer, its voice blending with my worst fears. "You did nothing then, and you will do nothing now. Tell me this isn't real." I choked out, grasping at the remnants of hope I so desperately clung to. "Tell me I still can fix this." But the shadow only laughed, a sound that twisted my heart and clawed at my resolve. Yet amidst the chaos, another flicker ignited once more, the reminder of joy amidst the despair. In an instant, I remembered Maya's unwavering presence and Jake's burning belief in me. "Leave me alone!" I screamed, pulling the warmth of my memories tightly around me like a cloak, a shield against the encroaching darkness. "I won't surrender." The shadow hesitated, and suddenly, as if sensing the shift within me, the energy around us flickered with a new landscape of light, swirling defiantly against the oppression. You think you can defy fate? The spectre questioned, eerily calm. What will it cost you? Whatever it takes, I vowed. Jake's voice broke through again, bursting with undiluted determination. Emma, we will fight. We can't let the past steal our future. Though fear still gripped me, Maya's fierce presence and Jake's unwavering faith fortified my heart as we forged a path into the brightness, determined to hold on to that vivid hope. But as the shadows roared and surged, something glimmered ahead, an unexpected ripple threading through the darkness. Wait! I cried out, suddenly frozen. Before I could understand the pull, I felt a tug not on my heart, but on the very fabric of my existence. With a force the darkness had not anticipated, light erupted anew, promising to swallow the shadows whole. Yet I had no idea how much light would be required to ensure we emerged from this alive. The brilliant force surged toward me, sweeping me off my feet, and I understood then I may not just be fighting for Jake anymore. I was fighting for my past, my present, and a hovering future wrapped in uncertainty. My heart raced. As the struggle reached its fever pitch, I could sense the duality of light and darkness in a tumultuous dance, each moment hanging by the thinnest thread, but something worse loomed in the depths, the knowledge of sacrifice echoing in the corners of my mind like a relentless echoing bell, asking me to consider how far I would go to find the strength to save not just Jake, but myself. Would that flame of love extinguish in the wake of uncertainty? And as darkness roared one last time, the shadows threatened to pull me back into an unfathomable abyss. A horrifying whisper lingered in the air. Will you come back to us, or will you lose everything you ever loved? In that suspended moment, what I once held dear loomed larger than life, teetering on the precipice of loss. My heart sank as realization crashed into me like a wave. What lay ahead was anything but certain. The echoes of chaos swirled around me, mirroring the frenetic pulse of my heart as I hovered on the brink of something profound. Darkness and light intermingled, a tumultuous dance of duality weaving together my past and present, clutching at my soul with fingers of desperation. Just a heartbeat ago, I was standing with two others, unwilling to allow shadows to consume us. But now, I felt untethered, a solitary figure teetering on the edge of my own choices. Could I truly fight to save those I loved without losing myself in the process? Emma. Jake's voice sliced through the tumult, bright and guided, a lighthouse in the storm threatening to swallow me whole. Though he stood within the suffocating shadows, I could see the fire in his eyes, a beacon of unwavering hope. Come back to us. We need you. But how could I return when all I felt was the weight of despair? With every whisper of darkness brushing against my skin, I could almost hear the entities of my past, taunting me with memories that scraped against my soul. You're not enough, they hissed, echoes flaring like sparks from a dying flame. The silhouettes of my fears coalesced into a ghost from my past, reaching out with deceptive sweetness. You failed them once, what makes you think you'll succeed now? No. Get away from me. I screamed, pushing against the cold grip of uncertainty tightening around my throat. I felt my pulse quicken, the memories flooding in, capable of both bolstering me and pulling me down under the weight of regret. Pieces of laughter, moments of joy, glimmers of connection. I needed to invoke the light shaping who I was and who I longed to be. The warmth of love wrapped around me fiercely, ready to resist despair. Don't listen to it. Maya's voice surged through the shadows, its clarity cutting like a knife. We've created bonds that transcend darkness. Remember our joy. Together, we can break free. The energy around us shifted, swaying like a pendulum between hope and despair. I closed my eyes, inhaling deeply, allowing memories to wash over me. Human moments of simple happiness flickered, illuminating my heart. I thought of those snowball fights, the laughter ringing like chimes in the chill of winter air. We are bound together by shared moments, by resilience, I whispered fiercely. Together, we are unstoppable. With every word, the shadows shrunk back, recoiling from the radiant tide rolling through me. A glimmer formed in the chaos, it cascaded with vivid colors, each one a story echoed through laughter. Our love is stronger than you. I shouted, pushing toward the still trembling shadows. Will you sacrifice your very essence for them? The darkness hissed, uncertainty painted into its voice. They can't save you. I won't be frightened by your whispers, I replied, my voice steady with the strength of my memories, my love for Jake and Maya flaring into a brilliant flame. I refuse to let you dictate my worth. Suddenly, a sharp gasp drew my attention, and I turned to see Jake, leaning against a wall of darkness. Emma. His voice, a fragile thread, pulled me toward him. Fight. We're in this together. The moment hung like fragile glass, threatening to shatter within my grasp, but I embraced it, pushing through the pain swirling within me, fighting back against the shadows enveloping my rising sense of purpose. I'm coming. I reached for him with every ounce of determination sparking inside me. Together, we forged ahead, hand in hand, like twin stars illuminating the night sky. The dark specter felt the tremors of our growing light and lashed out with ferocity, narrowing the space around us, threatening all we held dear. But armed with the warmth of our bond, we charged forward, consuming despair with every sustained heartbeat. Remember who you're fighting for. Remember our love. Maya cried behind us, her voice carrying us as if lending a lifeline to buoy us up against the encroaching tide. That in a burst of fierce determination, I reached toward the shifting shadows, my heart pounding fiercely with newfound resolve. We choose courage. The echoes of our memories coiled around us, shielding us, feeding our flames. Together, we summoned the deepest wells of hope and spun it into the beating heart of light. The darkness shrieked, its power sputtering under the intensity of our light, revealing the silhouettes of our souls intertwined, cloaked in love, powered by strength. You have no power here. I screamed into the gloaming. This is our moment. In a crescendo that punctuated that fragile silence, we surged forward, breaking the grip of the darkness. With hearts intertwined, we emerged victorious, wedged free from the shadows, as light poured in, illuminating our surroundings in a hue of love from which we had drawn strength. As the light enveloped us, I felt a weight lift off my heart, tendrils of despair loosening their grip. Jake, his eyes alive with possibility, stepped closer, grounding me in the warmth of his spirit. You did it, Em. We did it, he whispered, reverence dancing in his tones, and at that moment, as shadows receded and beautiful light cascaded all around us, I realized the strength I had within me wasn't merely about beating the darkness, it was about embracing the love, the connections that transcended hurt and fear. It was about forgiveness for myself, for my situation, for those I had lost. Maya grinned at us, uniting our stance as one. We faced the shadows and we emerged together. I nodded, the weight of my journey melding into a profound understanding of what it meant to be whole. Love had always been there, patiently awaiting my acceptance as I clutched the hands of those I loved. Together, I murmured, my heart swelling with hope. No matter what comes next, together. With our fingers linked tightly, we stepped forward into the luminous glow, embracing whatever awaited us. In our hearts burned a flicker of hope, resilient and unwavering, guiding us onward through every shadow and every light, and as we forged into the unknown, my soul echoed with an unshakable certainty, I had made it back, and this time, I wouldn't let go.